Mamdani seems like a nice guy, and I congratulate him on an extraordinary political achievement. But before the whole left side of the country catches socialism fever, let's listen to the other big winner in last Tuesday's election, Virginia Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger, who, before the 24 election, said things like, if the party didn't shift to the center, we will get torn apart. And we need to never use the word socialist or socialism ever again. Well, she was right, but they didn't listen. Typical, am I right, ladies? One wing is saying don't ever use the word socialist again, and one is saying,
I am a democratic socialist.
Clear, huh? So how do we decide who's right? Well, it turns out we don't really have to flip a coin. We have the evidence. In 2024, 13 Democrats won. In districts, Trump also won. All moderates.
Bill Maher is going all in against the Democratic Socialists, and it's absolutely savage. The outspoken TV personality ripped into the group, accusing them of steering the party toward a risky socialist path, while aggressively trying to transform America into a full-scale socialist system. The criticism was sharp, relentless, and impossible to overlook. So, hit the subscribe button and let's jump in.
Democratic socialism is like a dating profile. Things look great until you meet up in the real world. For example, Bernie Sanders, his big thing was always bringing single-payer health care to our country of 340 million. But when liberal, tie-dyed Vermont tried to do it for a population of 626,000, it collapsed like that poor in the Oval Office last week. Bernie, AOC, Mamdani are not Democrats. They'll be the first to tell you that. They're democratic socialists, and that's a very different thing, and I don't think people know that yet.
Bill Maher didn't hold back at all. He started off by directly targeting Bernie Sanders, one of the most vocal supporters of democratic socialism. Sanders has long advocated for a single-payer healthcare system, pitching it as a solution to America's struggling healthcare structure. But Maher brought up a real-world example to challenge that idea. Vermont, a strongly progressive state, where such a system should have worked smoothly. Instead, it reportedly ran into major problems and was eventually abandoned. According to Maher, the plan became too costly, too complex, and ultimately not sustainable. For him, this wasn't just a policy failure in one state. It was a clear warning sign. He argued that democratic socialism may sound appealing in theory, full of promises about fairness and universal health care, but tends to break down when faced with real economic pressure.
And this is against why people sometimes, I think, question some of what you're saying. This is a survey student loan forgiveness recipients. 73% of applicants say they are likely to spend their extra money on non-essential, including vacations, smartphone, drugs, and alcohol. They admitted that to the pollster.
Who is this pollster?
NBC News. 52% they are very likely to buy new clothing. 46% they would use the money for vacation and eat out at restaurants. This is why people have a thing about, I would never call it free money. Oh, I guess I just...
Bill Maher also pointed out a pattern he believes shows up when Bernie Sanders is challenged with uncomfortable or inconvenient facts. According to Maher, Sanders often shifts the focus toward questioning the credibility of the sources. Now, Maher made it clear that asking for sources isn't wrong in itself. It's actually a normal and important part of any serious debate. But his argument goes deeper than that. He suggests that the sources being questioned often reflect sentiments that many everyday Americans already express openly. From Maher's perspective, a large portion of voters still tend to favor capitalism over socialism when given a direct choice. He argues that many people hesitate to fully embrace broad, government-run systems because they prefer flexibility, personal incentives, and control over their own income. He further claims that when people are offered free money without a strong structure or accountability,
I know the kids think that stuff that happened before their appearance on the planet didn't really happen, but it did. We've run this experiment many times, and the results are always obvious. Here's capitalist South Korea at night from space. Here's socialist North Korea. Yeah, In 1990, Venezuela was wealthier than Poland. But then Poland, finally free of Soviet-style economics, went all in on capitalism. And now their economy is as big as Japan. And people there have high wages, low inflation, cars, vacations, homes. Meanwhile, Venezuela traded capitalism for Hugo Chávez's Socialism for the 21st Century, which turned out to be like socialism in the last century, or any century, a mess. It turned one of Latin America's richest countries into one of its poorest.
Here, Bill Maher moves from criticism into a clear warning, arguing that socialism is not some new or untested concept. It is an idea that has already been tried multiple times, and in his view, with consistently troubling results. He points to countries such as Venezuela, Cuba, and North Korea as modern examples where strong state control has gone hand in hand with economic crisis, shortages, and reduced personal freedoms. In Venezuela, once regarded as one of the most resource-rich countries in Latin America, years of economic mismanagement and heavy state intervention are often linked by analysts to hyperinflation, collapse of living standards, and long-term instability. Cuba, meanwhile, continues to face slow growth, debt pressures, and ongoing shortages under a largely state-run economic model. North Korea is frequently cited as one of the most tightly controlled systems in the world, with extremely limited market activity and severe restrictions on personal and economic freedom.
I don't think people realize we already have a lot of socialism. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment insurance, food stamps, veterans benefits, Pell Grants, COVID-era payments, farm subsidies, disability payments, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, corporate bailouts, and the jobs program that is building weapons the Pentagon doesn't even want. All that is socialism, much of it appropriate to soften the edges of capitalism, but the DSA are radicals about this concept, and radical economic policy is always ineluctably married to radical social policy. Their platform, for example, calls for completely open borders. They're for what Biden was doing, but more.
Here, Bill Maher shifts into a more nuanced argument, saying that while the United States is fundamentally a capitalist system, it has already incorporated selective social safety nets, public assistance programs, and basic protections designed to prevent people from falling through the cracks. However, he warns that balance is the key issue. In his view, moving too far toward full democratic socialism could weaken the core drivers of innovation, productivity, and individual ambition that capitalism relies on. Maher paints a stark scenario of what he believes such a shift might lead to: tighter government control over resources, reduced economic flexibility, and a system where personal choice becomes more limited. In that kind of environment, he argues, shortages could become more common, and everyday life might start to feel restricted, whether in access to goods, services, or even basic options people are used to. He even uses a vivid image of long lines under harsh sunlight, with people waiting for essentials like bread and milk, as a cautionary example of what can happen when supply struggles to meet demand in heavily controlled systems.
It's either defund the police or military in the streets, either MAGA's crypto crony capitalism or city-run grocery stores. No, I don't want that. I want a Democrat who reassures me if you like your Whole Foods, you can keep your Whole Foods.
Here, Bill Maher firmly rejects the push toward democratic socialism, arguing that what many voters actually want is much simpler than ideological debates suggest. In his view, the goal is a system where hard work is rewarded, and people feel confident that they can keep a fair share of what they earn. He frames capitalism not just as an economic model, but as a structure built on incentive, ownership, and the idea that effort produces tangible results. Maher presents this as a question of fairness. Why should those who work hard, take risks, and build businesses end up carrying an ever-growing burden for others? He warns that when a system leans too heavily on redistribution, it can weaken motivation and create frustration among those who feel they are contributing more than they receive in return. In his blunt style, he argues that channeling everyone's effort into a large collective pool without clear limits can backfire by reducing productivity and drive.
Governor-elect Spanberger once said about Biden's presidency that, quote, nobody elected him to be FDR. They elected him to be normal. Normal! You know, at this year's DSA convention, or as it's commonly known, Comic-Con, get this, you had to submit a photo of a negative COVID test to get in. In 2025. Yeah, no one wants to do that again.
Bill Maher delivers a blunt political warning, arguing that if Democrats fail to clearly separate themselves from the more hardline voices within the Democratic Socialist wing, they may be heading towards serious electoral trouble in 2028. In his view, many voters are increasingly frustrated with what they perceive as overreaching policies, regulations, and political ideas that feel disconnected from everyday life and practical concerns. He emphasizes that elections are not won at the extremes. They are decided by the middle. And if a political party appears too closely tied to ideas that voters see as unrealistic or overly restrictive, it risks losing support from a large and decisive portion of the electorate. For Maher, this issue goes beyond ideology. It's about perception. If voters start to associate the Democratic Party with policies that make daily life more complicated instead of improving it, the political consequences could be significant. His message is straightforward.
This election is taking place when we have an administration in Washington which every day is moving us toward an authoritarian society.
This is America, New York City. Don't let them tell you any different. Don't let them tell you that we are the exception. We are the rule. And we set the bar for America. I'm talking to you, Donald Trump.
Let our words ring out so loud tonight that Andrew Cuomo can hear them in his $8,000 a month apartment. New York is not for sale.
Figures like Zohran Mamdani, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Bernie Sanders are often viewed as leading voices within the Democratic Socialist movement, pushing policies that challenge the Democratic Party's traditional direction. Mamdani, in particular, has built his political appeal around advancing these ideas in New York City, campaigning on bold progressive reforms and securing electoral success at the local level. That kind of victory, Maher argues, has encouraged others within the party to adopt a similar approach, leaning more heavily into socialist-leaning proposals in an effort to energize and mobilize voters. But he sees risk in that strategy. What resonates in a deeply blue urban stronghold like New York may not translate to the broader American electorate, where political, economic, and cultural conditions vary widely. From that perspective, treating a localized win as a national blueprint becomes a risky political gamble, one that could backfire if Democrats misread what the wider public is actually willing to support.